Hey people, Rio Wolfhard here and my brother Oliver Wolfhard.
Hi.
Today we want to talk about two albums that we released with our band Wolf Spirit, and it's gonna be about the album Free, which we produced I think in 2014.
Yes, that's
And-
like 10 years ago already.
Yeah, and then this one right here, Blue Eyes, which was produced just 2 years later in 2016, and then
Yeah.
released in 2000. This one released in 2015, and this one released in 2017, I think. And
That's correct.
just from the time schedule, these two albums are really close together, but I would say sound-wise they're pretty far apart actually, and from the whole approach, how they were produced. And I think it's fair to say that the main difference, of course, there's different producers. Here with Free, it was Michael Wagner, the legend, and right here it was Andrea Tokic. Maybe not a legend, but also a really
Well, here's a.
awesome producer.
He produced the Alabama Shakes. I think he's
Yeah.
known for that.
And I think you could say that this is a completely analog album.
Yeah, it's,
We recorded completely analog, and this one here, Free, was not completely analog. That's what the biggest difference maybe from the approach of the production.
well, the philosophy of Michael Wagner with Free was he was a fan of digital recording, very
Yeah.
much so since the 80s, since it came out, and he has this high fidelity approach of sound. While talking with Blue Eyes, you can just listen to it. You were gonna drop the links
Yeah,
in the description.
I'm just gonna put some music in the background here.
The Blue Eyes is really it sounds retro, old school,
yeah,
and it's also we didn't record with Click Track. We just
No. no,
we played it live as a band in Free, in Blue Eyes, and in Free we did it like the classical way, just recording on Click Track, recording every instrument on its own.
yeah. Maybe let's talk a little more specific. The production, how it went down with Michael Wagner, and then compared to Blue Eyes, and I think you can say that with Michael Wagner, it was kind of this. I'm just gonna call it the standard modern way of producing an album, which means at home you do all your arrangements, you write your songs, then you come into the studio Wireworld in Nashville, and then the producer goes ahead and takes those ghost tracks that you maybe made, or maybe you're gonna do ghost tracks there. I think we already did them. We already
I
had
think
ghost
we had
tracks.
some demos and
Yeah.
some ghost tracks. Yes.
And then it's the approach is pretty simple. You make a click track for every song, and then you take the drummer, and he's gonna put down the basic rhythm tracks, the drum tracks, and when that's gonna take like normally like 3 to 4 days,
Yeah.
because the setup, normally just setting up the drums takes one complete day. Just making that microphones and making just making it sound good. It's gonna take one day.
And Michael Wagner is a very thorough guy, so he is the classical
Yeah.
sound engineer. He likes the optimized sound. He likes the most high quality.
He's very German in that way.
yeah,
Because he's very precise and like structured, and and he loves everything to be really clean. Like that's a really big difference to when we're gonna get to talk about this. It's like the complete opposite.
so the,
Because I can remember that Michael was really particular of where the microphone was going to be placed, and
Yeah.
if it was just half a degree turned into another direction, then it would be like game over.
well, he knew his shit. Just
Yeah, of course.
Like for 40 years he did this, and he just exactly knew how to get the optimal sound out of the kit
Yeah.
and out of the room. And
And maybe I'm exaggerating. Like he's a rock and roll producer. It's not like he was like this piss ass guy who was like,
he wasn't a sound Nazi.
no, not at all. Actually, he was pretty. He liked to experiment with songs, and his motto was always like, if it sounds good, it's good. Like that's the old rock and roll kind of approach.
Yeah.
And he had that too. So in a way, he had both these worlds. He had this structured approach, and then also this kind of rock and roll thing. But anyway, let's get back to talking about the drummer came in. I think he played all the basic tracks in 3 days. It was 10 years ago, so I can't remember.
5 days or so.
Really? Was it that long?
It was a bit longer.
Gosh.
But Michael took his time for lunch.
Yeah.
He always spent a few hours just having lunch. But we drove like for half an hour to the restaurant. We ate for an hour, drove back, and it was like 2 hours gone already.
Absolutely. He loved sushi. Like every day, when the clock hit 1 o'clock, it was like lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then the whole band and together with him had to go to the sushi restaurant every day.
There's some exceptions. Once we went to Cracker Barrel because he wanted something different.
Really? I can't remember. I can remember that once we went to the steakhouse, and because we're vegetarians, like we only had like one potato,
Yeah.
which was disgusting because it tasted like nothing.
And he had the pig.
So
half a pig on his plate.
But anyway, let's get back to talking music. The production. Okay, what I'm trying to say is it's like an on the grid producing with click, because then you got the drum tracks. And what happens next?
Bass, guitar, keyboards, and
exactly.
Voice.
You take all your instruments, and whoever is the next one just plays their parts.
Yeah.
And that's basically how it went down with Michael Wagner. And because he's got his shit together, this album sounds awesome, basically.
Well, the other one sounds awesome too, but in
of course. Let's get to the Blue Eyes. Let's get to Blue Eyes. Like, man, I can remember... For me, it was astonishing how this album got produced, because this on click producing, that's all I knew.
Yeah.
And this is like, I almost thought, before I started, making music and making albums, the way that this album was produced was always how I thought music should be produced.
The old way, classical way.
It's like a more organic, natural way.
Yeah.
You just come in as a band. You go into that studio room all together, basically in one room. Sometimes there's like booths where you're separated. I think the vocals were like I think you were in a different room. With the keys.
Was because I had the Leslie and the Hammond.
But I was together with the drummer.
And the bass player.
No, we didn't have a bass player actually. Then we had to. Oh, I was the bass player. I was the bass player for the
And then you.
And then I overdubbed the guitars.
Yes.
Or sometimes I switched. Sometimes I just played the guitars live and then overdubbed the bass.
Yeah.
But anyways, the point is, you're in together as a band. We had the vocals, we had keys, and we had drums and bass and guitar.
Yeah.
All recording at the same time. No click track. Not on grid.
Mm-hmm.
Andrea, the producer, often came in, stopped the recording, not because we were playing any mistakes or anything, but just because he went in and was talking like, no, we have to change the feel. I don't like the way that verse feels compared to the chorus. Let's play the chorus more up, more excited, and let's play the verse a little bit more laid back. And he gave us cues like that, and that's something that didn't happen at all here.
Because you don't need it.
No, you can't even do that.
Yeah, like, and what also Andrea did was he didn't care for microphone positioning at all.
It seemed
he just put the mic into the bass drum. Like, yeah, that's okay. And
it
some
actually
overhead microphones, and that's about it.
Probably it only looked to us like that, but I think he did know what he was doing. But it looked like he just came in and like he just threw a microphone in front of the kick.
I think he just figured out that that it has not a bigger difference. So he just said to himself, maybe I don't need to. It's just like, okay, it will fit and it'll be okay. And what he also did was record on tape. That was the first time for us too, because not many people do that anymore.
Yeah,
recording on tape, and it was a whole different experience because you, first of all, you don't have a screen in front of you, don't have a monitor to see all the tracks. You just listen.
I mean, you're in the room as a band, and you're making a performance, a live performance. Yeah. This is basically a live album of Wolf Spirit. Yeah. That's how I see it. Of course, we did some overdubs on that, no question about it. The vocals, for example, I think we took the majority of the vocals from the first takes out and then redid them just to make them even better.
Mm-hmm. But then we just the advantage was that we had the feeling, and the basic tracks already were there, so we could add something on top of that. And
for me, it was so much more exciting and so much more fun to produce the Blue Eyes album in comparison to the Free album.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go so far as to say that Free, the production was boring. It was still exciting to work with Michael Wagner, but producing this was a complete other level of excitement, and I think you can hear that in the recording.
Well, most people think that Free was the best sounding, just from the sound, the best sounding album we did.
Yeah.
Because it's just engineered really, like, just perfectly. The sound is really on top and top notch. And Blue Eyes, it's maybe even the opposite of that. The sound is not
complete opposite.
The high fidelity is not there, should say. But
no, it's a lo-fi album basically.
Yeah. But it's not to say it's not fun to listen to it.
No, for me it's more fun.
Different experience.
I mean, I still love the album Free. Yeah. And the more the years pass on, maybe it's like that for other musicians as well. But for me, like I like all old albums more and more. The more the years go and pass by, and then I go back and listen to Free and like, whoa, like we actually did a really good job back then.
Well, the thing is, sometimes you just when you produce something or create something as an artist, you don't realize how good it is because
no, not at all.
You're just too close to the project, and when you gain distance by just time elapsing, then you can see a more clear picture of the artwork. And that's the same with Free and Blue Eyes. You can have a more objective look on it, and are not. There's no filter of emotions that are attached to it because you're very involved in the project, and therefore you have maybe a lot of emotions going into it. But then when you look back in a few years onto your work, then you realize how good it actually is without having any prejudices going on.
And what you said before, when you said that Free, most people like that sound better, that actually leads me to another point. For me personally, as a musician, as I said, I like the Blue Eyes better. It was more exciting and more fun to produce, but in the end, it's not about me. To 100%, it's about me, but it's also about making an album that other people will want to listen to.
Yeah.
So
my philosophy on that is that if you do something that you love, then there will be people that love it too.
Yeah, sure.
So you shouldn't be producing for other people, but producing something that you really like to listen to, and something that when you hear it on the radio, you say, "Wow, that's really good music," and then other people will love it too. That's like my take on it.
Yeah, people. What do you think? Go to Spotify and listen to those two albums. As we just explained, two completely different worlds, basically. One is like the digital hi-fi I don't know, I wouldn't say overproduced, but massively quality, I don't know, just produced by a legend, by Michael Wagner. And then and then that analog production on the other hand.
But what I can want to add to that is that we had now, how many albums did we have? 6, 7 albums?
Something like that, yeah.
And each time we evolved from that. So each time we learned something new, we did something different. And the music we do now today, for instance, the new album Bullshit is coming out soon.
Yeah,
it's completely different.
Do we
to-
have it here somewhere?
I guess.
So we can show it. Okay, this is the album Bullshit, which is coming out this January. And I think what Oliver was about to say is that we're not like the kind of band that has its sound like AC/DC, and for 100 years
It's just not gonna.
it's always the same sound. Like,
Why- they're not gonna fix something which isn't broken.
of course, I mean, yeah.
It's a good music, and I love the albums. I just listened to Ballbreaker today, and this album has, like, for the last 20 years been by my side. And like listened it since I was 15 or something, and it was just there for me. And every time I listen to it, it has some different meaning for me, and that's what I love about
How many
AC.
different meanings can Ballbreaker?
Just I don't know. You just look at it.
No, I know
differently.
what you mean.
Just, like All Hail Caesar, it's a really cool song, and
Yeah, but I guess Wolf's Riddle is like the kind of band that keeps evolving, and we're really allowing to ourselves to experiment with different facets of ourselves. Like,
yep. For instance, the Bullshit sound is so much different from Free, and also the songwriting evolved from. We actually still use this basic same formula for songwriting, but the devil is in the details, and we did a lot of things differently here, and you will hear this
well,
difference.
one big difference is that back then when we did Free, like, we basically let Debbie do just 100%
yeah,
of
the singing.
of the
Yeah.
songwriting, and not of the songwriting, but of the vocal performance. And on Bullshit, we kind of wrote the tunes ourselves before handing it over to Debbie, and then
Had a bit more
and of course she's doing her vocal performance, but there's a little bit more of
thought on
band
on the
songwriting
melody.
in here
Yeah.
than on the previous album. Maybe
The most freestyle
That's the
album was
biggest
still Blue Eyes. Like there was no.
no.
There
I can, like,
no
even
thought
for
in
one song,
was more improvised.
let me see which one was it. Road of Life. Well, Road of Life, we actually just came in with a little bit of vocal ideas and a couple of chords,
Yeah,
and that was it.
yeah.
And it was pretty fun because we basically wrote that song there. Or we made that arrangement together with Andrea Tokic, the producer, in a session, and then just recorded that.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I'm talking about this.
Yeah, there's so much to say about this music. We would really appreciate your support. Go to our Patreon, to my Patreon, to the band page, which is called wolfheart.store. You can order merchandise, CDs, vinyl. We really appreciate any support that we can get as a band. Check out the music, or even if you just listen to it on Spotify, it's gonna support us. And if you like what you heard, or even if you don't like, leave a comment and let us know what's your experience with producing. Maybe you have your own band and made similar experiences. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.